coming.
Thank you.
All right, so Mark, well, I'll call him Jiggy because we get two Marks here. So Jiggy, when we talked before, you and I were both from Boston, and John Kilmer, the director, writer, co-producer, sound engineer, and I don't know if I'm getting all the things he did. He did a lot in this movie.
I just took care of the food.
Yeah. You both, came from suburban Boston, and you've known each other for a long time. Tell us a little bit about how this movie came about. I mean, what was the idea behind the story?
Yeah, I think the mic be a little hot. Is it hot? A little loud? No? You're good? Okay. This is, we wanted, John and I have collaborated on a lot of stuff over the years. We've done music videos together. We had a podcast together. We did a television pilot, and we always wanted to do a feature film, which was, it's the biggest task. It's the longest shooting. It's the longest process. And so this was about a year and a half, 2 years in the making. And we wanted to do like a coming of age story. It's a lot about John and myself. I'm a stand-up comedian. He's a musician. And just about graduating college, not really knowing what the next step is, especially when you have an alternative type career as ourselves. So that was kind of the germ of the story, is we wanted to do something like that about getting stuck in the middle between college and the next steps.
And John was also acting in the movie. If you remember, he's tied to a tree, so it was a very demanding role.
Yeah.
So Mark, now you're also a comedian.
That is correct.
So have you done? Is this like your first leading role in the movie, or have you done a lot of acting as well?
Yes, this was the first one. I hope no one could tell, but yes, it was. Yeah, this was the first one. It was great.
So how do you make that transition from obviously the performing side? You have some experience from being a comedian, but how did you make that transition? What helped you basically prepare for this role?
Right. No, that's a really interesting question. I did some prep work. I was actually in school. I was still in college when we filmed. I have since graduated, so thank you very much. No, enough with the applause. I got an English degree, so the wrong one. Whoops. No, I did I took some theater classes and some dramatic acting classes while in school, which definitely helped. But I think that there's a lot of parallels with stand-up and acting, which is why I think a lot of comics are able to do both. And so much of stand-up is just pursuing truth and finding your truth as an individual. And I find that when preparing for this role, it was just finding the truth of the character. And so it was just ultimately tapping into what I felt like the character's motivation was versus what my motivation is a true individual, rooted in reality, speaking as a comic on stage. So yeah, that was my mindset going in.
So now, Derek, you had the shortest distance to travel tonight because you live in the area, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm from Neptune.
And you have your family here apparently, unless you rented them.
No, my mom, my dad, and my brother are here. Yeah.
So you can applaud it more.
No, it's fine.
You paid for his college education, probably. So Derek, how did you get involved? Obviously this was shot in Boston area.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with this production?
Well, actually, I do stand up as well, not as much as Jiggy, and Mark's been crushing it lately. But I'm an actor, comedian, host, and I know Jiggy originally from, I guess I first met you on the podcast, a podcast that I host with my buddy Mike Polano, and when Joe Gatto from Practical Jokers is available, he's on as well. But that's how I met Jiggy originally, and then we've always just stayed in touch. We actually had Jiggy and John on the podcast. That's how I met Kilmer first. And funny story, though, I used to host this event in Boston called College Fest. It was this huge event, 10,000 college kids would come. And there was an act there named Mike Stud, right? Mike Stud, and John was with, and I met him at College Fest years ago. Then fast forward, I meet him randomly with Jiggy on our podcast. So it just came full circle. We stayed in touch, and Jiggy was like, we got a part for you. And I actually read for Val and Tim, but I think Drew, who was Val, did a great job. And I think I fit kind of perfectly as the older brother, the much shorter older brother. I'm sure some of you guys are like, they don't look like they would be related. But yeah, that's how it happened.
I'm sitting here thinking, and I think you mentioned to me too, Jiggy, that there were a bunch of comedians in this cast. I'm just trying to figure out how, that must have been a rather combustible mix. I don't know how you guys ever got any work done, because you're probably all trying to bust each other up as you're trying to do this movie.
Yeah, as someone who was trying to I feel like I was trying to keep the work going along, and we were all staying together in the same house. And there were some nights where I'm like, this is never gonna work. This movie is never gonna get done. But in the best way possible. And as a producer and trying to organize it, I tried to do the best I could to take the moments that I knew were going to be harder to shoot and put them all together. So, for example, like the party scene at the beginning of the movie, I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to go and make the party scene our actual rap party. So that rap party was, or that party in the movie was actually our rap party of the entire film. It's the last thing we did. So yeah, I mean, it was so much fun being with all other comedians and stuff, but I needed to make sure we were on track, and so I tried to clump things together to get that done.
Well, you know, as a kid growing up in the Boston suburbs, it was really fun watching the scenes because I was saying, oh, yeah, that's got to be Somerville, or yeah, that's got to be Cambridge or Lexington or whatever. Was it difficult shooting on location? Was it relatively easy for you to get, I guess, whatever permits? But generally, it seems like a lot of it was some of it was kind of guerrilla shootings. What was the challenges around the production itself?
Yeah, I mean, I did all the location scouting, and a lot of it was just using the old jiggy charm, going in there and trying to charm people to let us use their space. Or I think the funniest story of it was the house that we were originally going to use as a Primrose house. We Airbnb'd the house, and we're like, well, the guys aren't really going to know. We Airbnb'd the house for 2 weeks, and then we went in and met the guy, and he's like, if you need anything from us, we live right next door. I'm like, well, cancel that. So we actually, what was shot as the Primrose house was a fan of John and I's, and he reached out to us, and that house was an absolute wreck, destroyed, and we're like, perfect. And so yeah, we had to roll with what we had. The college campus is actually my old high school, which was designed by a college campus designer. So you know, I did the best with what we had, and yeah, a lot of it was just charming people and taking the time to meet and show them what we're doing.
So Mark, it looks to me like you're rather multi-talented. Not only were you acting, but they put you on stage in front of a band. Oh, you're singing.
Oh, no.
You're playing the guitar. Although Mark tells me that's all fake. I mean, Jakey told me it's all fake. But so what was that like? I mean, you were really, you know, honestly, you really look like you're out of your comfort zone, but no one could tell. You're pretty cool and collected about it. What kept you focused?
I guess how much do we want to pull the curtain back? I don't have any musical experience at all. I don't know how to, I played the recorder in the 3rd grade, and beyond that, I don't know anything. So John honestly was great because John Kilmer, the director, producer, everything of this thing, he is like an incredible guitarist. He's like really phenomenal. And so he taught me a lot of like the general movements, I guess. But yeah, a lot of it was just like taking a bunch of takes. And I was fortunate because in the last scene, like the band that was there, like they were all like super talented musicians, and they sort of gave me license to just like be silly and like kind of mess around with them. And then fortunately, a fraction of those shots were usable.
So yeah. I'm going to just throw this question out to the three of you. I mean, you know, basically, as I was watching the movie earlier, you know, it struck me as a combination of Animal House, Peter Pan, and a little bit of Lord of Flies. And, you know, I loved that it kind of twists in the middle, and suddenly you get an understanding of what's the background of this house, and it's really about closure. And so as I was looking at this, I was wondering, now, you guys, is any of this real to you in life? Did any of you feel like you had kind of this delay into maturity, this delay into the real world?
I'm a virgin, so yes, the answer.
Excellent, yeah.
If you want to go.
I think this was, you know, John, who I wish he could be here, but he had an important fishing trip. It's really about, it really comes from John and I's experience. Like, I remember when I first met Kilmer, like, we were both like 25, and like we were like chugging beers and playing beer pong, and like I had friends who were like accountants and stuff, and so it just came from that experience for me. Is like, you know, when John wrote the script and we went over it together, we both saw ourselves as in the movie. So it really came from you know, taking an alternative career path, and then also the awkward years when it's not quite working and trying to figure it out. So that, I mean, that's for me where I see it.
Derek, you have anything to add to that?
Sure.
I only asked that because you have your parents here. And
Yeah.
I thought that would be.
Yeah, that's right. You know, not to be like super meta, but it's weird. Like, I'm I'm an older brother to a younger sister, but I have an older brother, and I don't know. I was kind of like, how would maybe Jay play this a little bit at times? I even thought about it at times, just because I don't actually have a younger brother. But it was weird because usually I'm like the one acting like, you know, Stoker or Val in sketches and stuff like that. So it was cool to kind of have just more of like a serious role, I guess, sort of serious. And I think I really enjoyed doing like the bedroom scene with Mark and I, where we were kind of arguing. Yeah, that kind of sounded a little weird. But I made sure, like, throughout the movie, there's some scenes that were cut out, but like there were things I like made up in my head that was like, well, I never called him Steve. Like growing up as his older brother, I always called him Steven. Hey, Steven. So I wanted to make sure I called him Steven. And you know, the Ninja Turtle thing was just a kind of a improv thrown in there thing I thought would be cool, just to connect this to something when we were younger. But no, my parents are very much alive and well, and they're right there watching. So, yeah.
Well, you know, you mentioned a very interesting thing, and I was curious because, again, you have a lot of comedians. There are a lot of, it's obvious a lot of the actors are very sharp-witted here. How much of this was improvised? Any of it? None of it?
I mean, little parts for me here and there, but.
Yeah, I would say a lot of it was improvised, right? Like I think like so much of the production, as far as like even just the day by day, like how we were going to be filming, where we were going to be filming, obviously like all that was planned, but like there was like little tweaks. So much of like production, obviously, if you've had experience in production, like you know, it's like so little of it is really calculated, and you can only calculate so much, I guess would be a better way to put it. And then on the day of, you know, the things are going to come up. And sometimes the things that come up that sort of interrupt the production are actually the little gems that like heighten it and bring it to a different level. So like certain characters had a lot more ability to improvise, like Jake. Yeah. I think probably most of Jake's lines were improvised, right?
Yeah.
Here, I'll let you finish that off.
Yeah, I mean there were some scenes that we just did straight up. I think were improvised, like the poker table scene that was all done in one continuous take. That took, without hyperbole, 97 takes, and I was in the other room like, this is fucking never gonna end. And but that was all improvised, and there was a couple of scenes that were like that. But yeah, we tried to like let the actors work together, and they did come up with a lot of gems, and that made it to the final movie.
Well, you know, one thing that I also really loved about the film is, and I guess I'm a stickler for this anyways, I love the point of detail that's in this movie. You know, the work that you guys did with your props is pretty impressive. Setting the scene, making it very clear in Boston. I love the fact you had a Troy Brown football jersey in the opening scene. Patriot fan picked that up. They're playing right now, I think, actually, exhibition. Yeah, Giants too. So I was curious, how did you create the atmospherics on this? I mean, who was responsible for that? Was it kind of ad hoc, or did you have it all kind of planned out?
Kilmer and I went through the entire script, and we got as many props as we thought we needed. But honestly, the house being this kid's like destroyed, essentially frat house, we just walked in. We're like, we could have spent $10,000 to get this set up, but we'll just leave it as is. And so we lucked out. Like that house really was most of the film was shot there, and we had full rain for 2 weeks to shoot in there, and we didn't do much. So we were just lucky that he had a frat house that was like half destroyed, that fit directly into what we were doing.
Well, my son graduated from Rutgers. He went to a frat house, and trust me, what you had in this movie was pristine compared to what he was living in. We're gonna do a little PSA announcement here, and then I'm gonna see if anyone out here in the audience has any questions for our guests. I hope that everyone's had a chance to pick up a copy of the program book, which, besides the fact highlighting all the movies and when they're going to be playing, there's a bunch of really fun events that are taking place, and as far as I know, they're all free. Someone will probably rush onto the stage and grab my mic if they're not. But we have Sinbad, who's going to be having a talk back on Friday night, tomorrow, 6:30. There's a big networking event, and if you haven't been to the networking event, I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun. This place is packed with people. The food is great. The company is great. If you're interested in the industry, if you just want to hobnob with people, it's a really fun event. We also have a whole bunch of workshops taking place this weekend. There's the Da Vinci Resolve workshop taking place throughout Saturday, doing things like video editing, color editing, things of that nature. And then there's a film workshop on all the elements that make a film, from acting to writing, etc., and that's all on Sunday. And then I'll be back here on Sunday night with an opportunity to hand out some of the awards from this film festival. It just gets bigger and bigger every year, and it's fun to actually be here on a Thursday, because normally it starts on a Friday. And thank you all for coming out. I mean, it's just wonderful, because what we're doing here is there's more than just the next adventure of the Marvel superheroes. There are a lot of wonderful films being produced, and thank God for the Marcheses who put this festival together, and it just keeps growing every year. And thank you for coming out and supporting it. So what I know I guess I got the mic, and I don't think I can get running unless anyone from the crew's got microphones. So feel free to shout it out. But does anyone have a question for Jiggy and Mark and Derek? Well, don't. Yeah, there is a question way up there. Go ahead, yell it out, sir. Or maybe there is a mic. Excellent.
I was just wondering, when it comes to like the production of like making the whole thing, what part of the process was the biggest unexpected challenge, the thing that you didn't prepare for and ended up like slowing progress down, or really like being a big pain that you weren't ready for?
For me, honestly, especially this is a super indie film, so a lot of people wore a lot of different hats. For me, I was not prepared for feeding people every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That was hard, and so I created a couple relationships with people who helped me with catering, but just getting the food for a price that we could afford was a big challenge. And then after that, it was always, when are we going to eat? Because like every day was a different day. So it was like I got Papagino's, which is like a pizzeria, driving around with penny pasta, like trying to find out where we're at, and finding out where and when we're going to eat and how that's all going to happen. Believe it or not, is like usually it's a whole team of people who do that, and that was something like I was thinking of on top of like making sure that we are on track. So surprisingly, that's something that in a production you wouldn't really think of initially, but is a big challenge just logistically.
Again, being a Boston kid, it was really fun to watch the credits roll and see Papagino's, which helped keep my little kids alive when we were living in Boston when they were young. Anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask? We have a question right over there. Do we have a microphone? Excellent.
Does this work? Okay.
Sure does.
All right, a few questions. What
you have to pay after the second question.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm only kidding.
What camera did you use? What did you edit it on? And who scored it?
Well, we shot on Red. Okay. So Red, it was a Red Dragon. John, who directed it, he owns one, and then Blaine, who was our DP, he owns another one as well. So we didn't have to rent any of the equipment camera-wise. So we were fortunate in that way. As far as editing, I wish we had Kilmer here. I think it was edited through Premiere, and John did a lot of the scoring himself. With his music background, he was able to. He did all the mixing and the sound design for the film, and he has a good ear for that in production in general. So I thought he did a good job. But yeah, that was all Kilmer on that.
Yeah, just to add to that, I was going to raise that point. I thought the music score was fantastic, and it's all original, isn't it? It's an original score. Well,
the songs that Mark sang at the end, that's John Kilmer wrote that song, and also the one that Fallon sang. We only get a brief, you only hear it briefly in this edit, but those were two original songs for the film itself, and then there are some original music that scoring-wise that John made as well for the film.
So it's unfortunate we don't have any actresses from the movie here tonight, because there were some really nice performances there. Casting in general, how did you cast this particular movie?
Well, I knew that there was going to be a lot of comedy elements, so I just went to the people I knew. You know what I mean? So I went, a lot of the actors in the movie, Alex Babbitt, who's played Andre, he's a comedian in New York. Mark, I knew from Florida, that I knew would be a great leading man, handsome devil, so I reached out to him. So it's a lot of comedians that I had worked with that I thought would be good for the film. And then other than that, we posted a lot of things for actor and actresses in Los Angeles. Iris, who plays Fallon, was out of Los Angeles, and then yeah, that kind of made it up. Mostly comedians that I had seen or worked with.
So Mark and Derek, you're both comedians first, right? Although Derek, I think you also do a lot of acting. What do you think, Mark, acting or comedy? What do you feel more comfortable with?
I really feel more comfortable doing stand-up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so tell some jokes right now.
No, not for free. Not for free. No.
What about you, Derek? What do you think? What's your comfort zone?
Oddly enough, stand-up still is the thing. I really enjoy doing it, and it's so gratifying, but the thing that still scares me the most. Usually when I have like a one-man comedy show, and some people here have been to them, it's multimedia comedy. So I do stand-up, but there's video, I'm singing parodies, I'm dancing, I'm all over. It's like, kind of like Jimmy Fallon-esque is more my style, and that's where I feel really home. But I love just doing stand-up because I love coming on stage and being a little unsure if jokes won't work and will work, and that's like scary, but at the same time exhilarating.
Yeah, I will tell you, as a credit to both of you, and I'm sure everyone here would agree, that I would have never guessed you were comedians. I mean, the acting chops were there, and I think you all did just really a marvelous job.
Oh, well, thank you.
I saw someone had their hand up over here. Okay, we'll go here first, then we'll get to you.
I just wanted to know what the total cost was for the film.
We crowdfunded the everything for the film, and soup to nuts, it was about $40,000. We did everything for the up to before we got to post was about $25,000, and a lot of that was just because we didn't pay for any locations, and so we were lucky in that way. But it's super micro budget. You know what I mean? That's almost as low as you can go. So. But yeah, it was all crowdfunded for about 25.
It was all college funds, right? College loans, and you're going to default on them like everyone else.
My grandmother doesn't know yet,
Yeah.
but
we had a question up here. He answered your question? Yeah, how much it cost? The budget. We have a question right up here.
You guys all did a great job. I just wanted to let you know. But what's next? Do you have anything else in mind? Do you have another film that you're going to be doing?
Yeah, Kilmer and I are already working on the next one, and we've learned a lot of valuable lessons from this. When you're shooting on a tight budget, it's hard, we had a lot of characters, we had a lot of locations on this, which was it was very difficult. So, we look at films now, we're like, wow, they shot that whole thing in a hotel room. That sounds good. So we're already working on the next one. We're bouncing ideas back for the script. We're already putting together some treatments for the script. And hopefully by next summer we're going to be in production on the next film. And we want to do something maybe in the suspense, thriller, comedy type genre. So
What's next for you, Mark and Derek? Any besides the comedy, any acting gigs lined up?
Yeah, so as far as acting goes, I'm working with a New York comedian named Andrew Schultz, and working on like a lot of his stuff. So we're doing like a lot of like multimedia, like almost like reality-based things. So it's less of like deep dramatic acting, more of like man on the street kind of thing. But really just doubling down on stand-up is my biggest focus right now, and currently on a tour. So I think we should be back. I think we'll be back. We're in D.C. this weekend. I think, how far is Connecticut from here? Are we near that? I don't understand geography.
About 3 hours.
Okay, so I'll see you guys in Connecticut.
About 3 hours.
We'll be there in a couple weeks also.
Mohegan Sun?
I'm sorry?
Mohegan Sun?
No, we're doing it's like some...
The IHOP over at next.
It might be a Waffle House or something. Yeah, I'm not positive exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's my focus for now.
I still do stand up when I get booked, but a lot of I'm just a working actor. I audition daily. I do a lot of voiceovers, there's some things, but I don't know. I don't want to talk about it because if I don't get it, that's the point. You know what I mean? Oh, we got an FLD fan here? Oh, nice. Hey, how about it? It's a character I do. Bob Schubert isn't here, but we gotta get him in something again soon. Shout out to FLD, man.
We got anyone else in? Oh, yes, right over here.
Highest point was when we wrapped. Thank God this is over. We did it. Honestly, it's when you go up to make a movie. We knew there was gonna be a challenge, so the last day was just amazing to finish it and to do it on schedule. So that was like That was definitely the high. Lowest point, I think, was that poker scene. I was like, this. I don't think we're gonna finish the movie. I think it's gonna be over. But you know, I think a lot of the real struggles was in pre-production. Like, you know, there was days like a few weeks up to the movie where like I didn't know if I had an actor for a certain role. I didn't know where we were gonna shoot stuff. Like in production, like I had locations fall out in the middle of production that I had to go find. So those are tough days, but you know, I'm happy we've, you know, got it done.
Yeah, I'd say Jiggy's high and low are probably the highest and the lowest of any of us. I would say, I mean, the thing that I really wasn't anticipating, especially being in a lead role, is just the exhaustion and just how much it really takes out of you, especially like some of the more, I guess, I don't know, intense scenes. Like really kind of drains you in a way I really wasn't anticipating. So dealing with, yeah, just the general fatigue. And then I think the high, my high was probably the poker scene. Because I loved, honestly, like, it was the scenes where it's like all of us together, and it was like all the, especially like the comics, like hanging out with Stoker, Jake Brennan, and like Alex Babbitt, and just like being around was certainly my high. Yeah, no question, that was certainly my high.
Yeah, I think the high, you know, working with these guys, and everyone was so like go with the flow, and no one was, you know, too critical or anything. One of the really cool things was after you do a scene, like John, the director, would come up and be like, I didn't even think that's where you wanted to go with that, but I like what you did there. And that's always good when a director tells you that. And I don't know, I really didn't have any lows. I was there for, what, 3 days or so. And, oh, maybe the bar scene that got cut. I thought that was a fun scene, but that's not even in there. But no, just working with these guys. Mark's a great dude, and working with Jiggy, too, is awesome, and John. And Drew, who plays Val, is a really good dude. He's a New York-based actor, and working with him as well.
Any other questions out in the audience? Yes, sir.
Congratulations on the film. It was a fun movie to watch. I'm curious about what plans you have on the film now. Is there any distribution things that you see on the horizon? And now that you've got it produced, what
Right now we have festivals lined up through 2020, so we're in the running for about 65 festivals, and we've been in 5 so far. We just started this summer, so the goal is just to kind of get it to as many eyeballs as we can on the festival circuit, and really we're still in a learning process of this is our first film, it's our first film rollout. The goal is to get it on a streaming service at the end of it, you know, something even like an Amazon or something, just so more people could see it. We've also been sending it to like our fan base, just individually, privately sending the links out so people can watch it. We want people to see it, but at the end of the day, the goal is just to get it on a streaming service and then hopefully use this as a catalyst to have a bigger production for film 2.
Any other questions? You know, I guess I should have asked this at the beginning, but how long in total from basically writing the script to wrap, how long did this whole project take?
From the beginning of the writing process to when we wrapped the film was probably about a year and a half, and so, you know, total from that point to today is almost 2.5, 3 years. So it does take a long time. I mean, just to commit on the script was the hardest part. You know, for us both, John and I both, to look at it and be like, okay, let's do it. It's really hard, you know, because you can edit a script forever, and at some point we were just like, we have to just do it. So, but that process was about 6 months to a year of just going over the script, and then the production of it was pre-production and production was about a month.
All right, we're kind of coming to the end of this, and then we have a nice little reception going on outside. Hope you'll check it out. Just want to see if you know, Mark or Derek, any final thoughts? You know, takeaways from the film, things that you might have learned that, you know, will stick with you now that you've got this experience behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it really was such a great learning experience. I guess like both professionally as like an actor, as an entertainer, but even more so just as a person, being around other people, being surrounded by people that are like chasing this common interest or like chasing their own dreams, like being inspired by Kilmer and Jiggy, that were really so intentional and like driven to achieve this thing is like really infectious. And surrounding myself with people like that, and really everyone that worked on the film had a similar type of goal, and then we worked together to create this. That type of energy is really intoxicating, and it's so fun to be around, and I think about it a lot. So certainly going forward, trying to surround myself with people that really have common interests and common goals, and understanding that I grow by being around people like that. So yeah, that was a major life takeaway from me wrapping up the film.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could say much more than that. Mark pretty much summed up. It's the same thing. You know, you're on a film set, whether it's big budget or low budget. Sometimes the big budget, everything gets lost in the shuffle. Something like this was great because we were all super close, and you were there for a long time. But in the few short days that I was hanging out with Mark and Drew and the guys, we definitely hit a chord, and we still stay in touch to this day. And it was all just from the Primrose, which is great.
Well, guys, thank you very much. And I did want to remind everyone that VIP tickets are still on sale. If you don't have your VIP pass, you may want to consider picking one up, so you'll have a free run of the many, many wonderful films that will be shown here this weekend. I want to thank Jiggy, Mark, and Derek. I will tell you that I can understand why Steve fell in love with Beth. She's a very beautiful woman. And thank you very much for coming out on the first night of this year's Monmouth Film Festival. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us for our opening night reception in the lobby.